Optimism isn't sunshine and rainbows. It's fixing things, changing the way we fix things. It's running the world on smarter energy. Because if optimism never stops, then change can't either. GE Vernova, the energy of change.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. New players, new games, new rules. Squid Game, The Challenge returns for a gripping second season. 456 contestants from all walks of life, competing in the ultimate test of strategy, alliances, and endurance. For a life-changing prize of $4.56 million. With stakes this high, why make friends when you can make millions? Watch Squid Game, The Challenge Season 2, only on Netflix November 4th.
Welcome to the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast. I'm Stephen Rothberg, the founder of College Recruiter job search site. At College Recruiter, we believe that every student and recent grad deserves a great career.
And I'm Peter Zollman, founding principal of the AIM Group, the leading global business intelligence service for marketplaces and classified advertising companies. We consult with recruitment marketplaces companies and publish AIM Group Recruitment Intelligence and a free weekly digest. We also host the annual Global RecBuzz Conference.
This is the podcast for you to learn more about how to create, manage, and work with general, niche, and aggregator job boards and recruitment marketplaces. Well, hello, Mr. Zollman. It is a pleasure being back with you.
It is good to be here. It's another Thursday, and that means we're podcasting again.
Yeah. Thursday also means if you're in college, that's the night that you go out for beers because you only have one more day to get through the weekend and you can just tough it out for that day.
Oh, I knew so many people in college who made sure they never took a class on Friday. And then they never took a class on Monday and, but if you can work it out, and some people took just Tuesday, Thursday classes. Hey, whatever it takes, right?
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about college. Here's the transition. Here's the awkward transition.
I did that.
Right?
I did that.
So we're gonna talk about the whole college life, at least from the employment status side with today's guest. She is Kelly Cherwin, the Director of Editorial Strategy at HigherEdJobs. And HigherEdJobs is the leading job board and resource site in academia. Every time I read that word, by the way, I just sort of feel like it's Greek, but whatever. I think it's the weird IA at the end. Kelly teaches project management and strategic management courses at two different universities in the Chicago area. Apparently, she's so good, she gets two instead of just one. And she's also the co-host of the HigherEdJobs Podcast, and they offer great career advice to staff and faculty of colleges and universities. So, Kelly, before I just completely go off the rails, I want to welcome you to the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast.
Well, thank you to you both. There's a very nice introduction. I'm so happy to be here today.
Well, we are glad to have you. It is nice to talk to people in Chicago, especially people in Chicago who had the brains to get out of Minnesota. Unlike some people who stayed in Minnesota.
Guilty.
Yep, guilty as charged. I lived in Buffalo for 5.5 years rather, and that's why I now live in Florida. It's a good reason.
Well, I must say, part of my heart still is in Minnesota, but I do love the Chicago area. And I will also say that I grew up in Wisconsin, so if you hear the about in some of the words, that's where it's coming from.
Well, you'll hear a lot from Stephen because he's a Winnipegger. Originally, but linguistic differences.
I was kicked out of Canada because I didn't say A at the end of my sentences, so I wasn't allowed to stay.
I lived in Buffalo, which is honorary Canada, although they didn't want it either. And I often said A, and people would look at me and go, "Are you from Canada?" Anyway, let's talk about jobs and job boards and recruitment marketplaces and things like that. What on earth is the difference from a job seeker and an employer perspective between a job at a corporation and a job at a college or university on the staff or faculty?
So I think I'll start with I've been in the higher ed space for over 20 years, so I think I can speak a little bit more to that side. But in terms of the actual process of looking for a job, I'm going to say that's probably similar in how people are looking for in terms of what the resources they're using. They're using, LinkedIn. They're using personal referrals. Maybe they're connecting to the institute or looking at the company's website and things like that. But with the higher education space, using a specific site like HigherEdJobs is nice because it allows you kind of to drill down to specific areas in terms of the higher education space.
And does that have to do with, terminal degrees, types of job, tenure track, non-tenure track, or what are those differences that matter on higher ed jobs?
Yeah, that's a great question. We and I don't want this to be a sales pitch for HigherEdJobs, but we're really proud of all the work that we've done over the years to make the site and the process a little bit easier. We completely understand that a job search, it no matter if it's in higher ed or outside higher ed, is difficult. It can be emotional. It can be draining. It's a lot of work. I mean, there's sometimes that you might not even want to check your email. The thought of sending out another application is tough. So for higher ed jobs, we allow our job seekers to go in and search for maybe if they want a full time, if they want a part time, if they want to maybe teach online, if they want to work as a staff member on campus, if whatever type of designation, maybe they have a partner or spouse of a dual career. So we allow people to really kind of drill down and seek that hopefully that ideal position. So I don't know if private sector has that type of ability to kind of drill down as far as looking at thousands of colleges and universities. But yeah, that's how we do it. We're pretty happy with the way that we can, the services and the support we can provide to our job seekers.
Yeah, part of the support that Higher Ed Jobs offers that I think is it's not unique, but it's really unusual in the job board and recruitment marketplace space is the content that you generate. And when at College Recruiter, we refer to content as job content, job posting ads, and non-job content. So I'm talking specifically about the non articles, blogs, videos, webcasts, podcasts. And one of the things that I recently learned about higher ed jobs is that you're able to measure the ROI on that content. When you publish an article, you've got an idea of like not only what the cost of doing that is, but what the return on that, the revenue generated should be. Walk us through how you guys do that, and then also the benefit of being able to do that.
Well, we actually don't put a huge amount on the actual money side, the profit side. Obviously, we have a stable of paid regular contributors, but we are really, really fortunate that we have a huge amount of volunteer writers that contribute to our site. I often joke that I have the best job at Higher Ed Jobs because I get to speak to so many different experts across the college campuses who volunteer their time to write. Maybe they wrote a book about higher ed, or maybe they wrote they're experts in whatever area it is. So we have them contribute to our site. So in terms of, yes, you're right, we do measure how many views we have. We love to see engagement. We like to see people forwarding the articles, responding on social media. It feels good. But the reason I say we don't specifically measure in terms of profit and money and ROI in terms of financial is because we don't think that an article topic that gets, say, 1,500 views or 2,000 views is any less important, more important than an article that might get 12,000 views. So it really depends on what that job seeker is looking for. Or, I should back up a little bit and say not everyone that comes to our site is actual active job seekers. We have a large population of passive job seekers as well. So, maybe you're working on campus and you're just interested to see what's happening in higher ed. Maybe there is a book review, something like that. So that's kind of how we measure success, if you want to say, if it's resonating with people and it's helping them connect in their career and potentially help them get that job. So hopefully that answers your question there.
Are most of the articles evergreen? Do they last forever?
Not all of them, but we do definitely have a large amount of evergreen articles. It's funny you mentioned that. Some of my team and I were just looking through our job search articles the other day, and we saw some great pieces that were from 2014, 15, 16, 17. And we're looking at them saying, are these out of date? Should we refresh them? I mean, obviously some are, might have some type of political connection or things like that, obviously, time has passed, but a lot of the tools that we try to equip our readers with have stayed the same, but we definitely want to refresh content. So we look at that. But yeah, we have a good balance of evergreen and kind of, breaking up to date type of content as well. I mean, obviously with the pandemic, our content has changed a little bit in terms of people interviewing hybrid and things like that. So we try to evolve.
We'll be back right after this break.
Looking for the inside scoop on payroll? Whether you're a payroll pro or just curious about your paycheck, we've got two podcasts you cannot miss. It's About Payroll delivers the latest trends for payroll pros, and It's About Your Paycheck is here for employees, breaking down pay and rights in simple terms. Two great shows, two great hosts, and endless insights to keep you informed and empowered. Subscribe now and elevate your payroll knowledge. Brought to you by Work Defined, where payroll meets people.
Welcome back to the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast.
You host a podcast, Stephen mentioned it, and it's now in its second season. What have you learned about doing a podcast that applies to other job boards, recruitment marketplaces? If they want to do a podcast, what should they know? And what did you screw up that you would tell them, don't do this?
Yeah, I could probably talk the next 20 minutes on some things that we made mistakes or like I said earlier, just kind of evolve. But I guess my biggest piece of advice would be, for those people who are maybe contemplating doing it. I know this sounds simple, but just do it. I will admit that I never had this burning desire to be a co-host of a podcast. I really did. But my friend, Andy Hibble, who kind of pushed me into doing it, pushed both of us, actually. He pushed me in a good way. He pushed both of us out of our comfort zone. And, we realized that we have some, experience in higher ed and some expertise to share. And we both kind of had to get out of, I can't speak for Andy, but get out of our heads. So that's kind of what I would say is like, just do it, stop overthinking it. Maybe I have a little bit of that imposter syndrome and just like, let it go and just do it. So that's kind of the first hurdle that we had to overcome. But in terms of other, kind of the good and bad things. When we first started out, I know we were, I'm not sure if anyone listened, kind of the first, Mike smiling, the first couple episodes, we were very, very like scripted and serious, and we were like reading and things like that. So kind of like, I love what you guys did, at the beginning where we were just kind of having some conversation and, getting going with that. But so that's kind of the actual, like the recording side and getting better. But in terms of content and my advice to people in terms of, getting guests and, coming up with topics is really use your network. I've talked a lot about the people that we've worked with over the years in terms of experts and writers and freelancers. if you can tap into their knowledge, and since you have a relationship already with them, it's a great conversation, and that's what's key, the word conversation. So when we kind of developed our podcast, we had this idea of, we're walking across campus and we might see a colleague on the quad and sit down and have a brief conversation. And it's not often that you're walking across campus and have a list of questions that you sit down and drill a colleague. So Andy and I go back and forth a lot. We laugh. We definitely make mistakes. I mean, a running a joke is and actually Mike can probably say this too. Andy will kind of flub our own names or our titles. Like we make mistakes, but you know what? you move on. We're humans. We have fun. So those are some things that we've learned too. But then the other thing, and I'm sorry, I keep talking here, but it's exciting because we have learned a lot, is to watch the amount, the content in one episode. When we originally started, we thought we kind of coined it like we're going to pair some episodes, and we recorded a 30-minute episode with a guest, and then Andy and I would also record a 15-20-minute conversation, and then our producer Mike would edit it and put it together, and it turned into too much. It was too much content. It was too long, and as we all know in today's society, we don't have a lot of time to digest, or a lot of patience, I guess, to digest a really long, even though Andy and I are so just exciting and interesting to listen, people don't want to listen to us for 45 minutes. So as I keep going on and on, I will stop there so people don't have to listen to me and you guys can ask me anything else.
Well, that's great. I mean, one thing is, as you know, Kelly, one of my best friends is Andy, and so I'm just going to say this in jest, but you did reference that he's uncomfortable. I think he makes all of us uncomfortable. I'm just kidding. So one of the reasons that I listen to the Higher Ed Jobs podcast is to hear him and you. And you're right. It's interesting. I was sitting here going like, yeah, as I listened to season 1, it did evolve over time. The two of you became more natural. It was more conversational. Certainly the same has happened with Peter and me. And I think your advice to other podcasters is spot on. You have to know what you're talking about. You can't just hit record and wing it. But you have to have some, we want to talk about A, B, and C. But the words, the conversations, whatever, it needs to be really natural. In terms of the podcasting that Higher Ed Jobs does, for those who haven't listened to your podcast, do you tell people, tell the listeners, are you targeting that to the employers? Are you targeting that to the job seekers? Is there a different audience?
Yeah, that's a good question. As we've, like I was saying, we've tapped into our network. Every topic is a little bit different, and one topic might be a little bit more geared towards the employer perspective. Another topic might be really job seeker focused. Another topic could be just a thought piece. So it really, we haven't just said this is just for job seekers. So speaking of, we talked about evolving. Another thing that we learned is to kind of be flexible in the type of content that we've created. And you probably listened to Andy's idea of the playlist. So we kind of have a little bit of fun, and we ask for engagement from our audience. So that's, I guess, another piece of advice actually I would offer is for those people who are doing podcasts, ask for feedback from your listeners. We allow people to, reach us through email or through Twitter. And another awesome kind of side episode that has kind of developed is called our mailbag, where listeners will email or contact us with actual questions that they have regarding a job search or an issue on campus. So it can really, back to your question, it can be from a job seeker. It can be someone who is having an issue on campus with something they're dealing with. So we've had another friend come in, Matt Trainham, who will interview some leaders across campuses, and then he talks to A&D, and we just have a great conversation with that. So we're kind of lucky that we get to talk to so many different audiences in terms of job seekers and employers and faculty and leadership and entry level and things like that. That's what's so cool about higher ed. So I didn't originally say that back in the first question about kind of the difference between higher ed and kind of the private sector, but it's kind of the why people want to go that route, why higher ed, and it's to be kind of a bigger part of society. You have that. I know this sounds corny, but as a faculty member, I can say that I do love the fact that I can make a difference to people to students on campus, and I think that's what higher ed is all about. Staff and faculty, no matter if you're a groundskeeper or a president, you are touching people's lives. So if your personal mission connects with the higher ed mission, that's pretty cool. And I didn't quite feel that when I was in the private sector. So sorry that kind of wove back to the original first question, but.
No, I love the energy and love the answer.
That's a perfect circle. And that brings us to 19 minutes and 15 seconds. So if we're targeting 20 minutes, we should probably wrap up about now. The obvious question that we always ask at the end of the podcast is, for somebody who wants to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to find you? And do you give out your email address, or should they find you through HigherEdJobs, or what's the best way from there?
Yeah, there's multiple ways. People are they can connect with me on LinkedIn, Kelly Cherwin, or you can always reach us through HigherEdJobs podcast at HigherEdJobs, or our Twitter account. So if people are interested in that, they can connect through the podcast email. So
that sounds perfect. Well, we appreciate you taking the time, and we've had a good time, which is even better. It was very natural, and we didn't have a script, and by golly, it still worked. So thank you very much for doing this. Thank you, Stephen, and we will catch you at the next conference somewhere, or when we're in Chicago, or who knows.
Yeah, sounds good.
Definitely not in Wisconsin, though. Definitely not in Wisconsin. Thanks so much, Kelly.
Thank you, guys. It was fun.
Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces is a co-production of Evergreen Podcasts, College Recruiter, and the AIM Group.
Please subscribe for free on your favorite app. Review it. 5 stars are always nice. And recommend it to a couple of people you know who want to learn more about job boards and recruitment marketplaces.
Special thanks to our producer and engineer, Ian Douglas. I'm your host, Peter Zollman of the AIM Group, the leading global consultancy in the field of marketplaces and classified advertising. Find out more about our reports on recruitment marketplaces, job boards, and classifieds, including our new Recruitment Marketplaces Annual, at aimgroup.com/reports.
I'm your host, Stephen Rothberg, of job search site College Recruiter. Each year, we help more than 12 million candidates find great new jobs. Our customers are primarily Fortune 1000 companies, government agencies, and other employers who hire at scale and advertise their jobs with us. You can reach me at stephen@collegerecruiter.com.